Welcome along to another video. I'm Peter Rising. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and once again I'm here today to talk to you all about Microsoft 365 and Azure AD in our series of learning Microsoft 365 from the very beginning using the MS-102 study guide. We are going to take a look at email security. Specifically, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. There's a lot to learn, so stay tuned. So we are back in our study guide for exam MS-102, and we are looking at the section Manage Security and Threats by using Microsoft 365 Defender, which is going to account for 25 to 30% of the overall exam score. So an important topic that you need to know a lot about. We've already covered the first subsection in this section, which was Manage Security Reports and Alerts using the Microsoft 365 Defender portal at security.microsoft.com. Next, we're going to look at Implement and Manage Email and Collaboration Protection by using Microsoft Defender for Office 365. And this is all about email and implementing policies and rules in Defender for Office 365. We'll also learn how to review and respond to threats identified in Defender for Office 365, including threats and investigations. We'll learn how to create and run campaigns such as attack simulation, and also show you how to unblock users. After that, we'll move on to, in the next video, the final subsection of this section will be all about Defender for Endpoint, after which we'll be moving on to the final section of the study guide, which is all about my favorite, which is compliance. Can't wait to get to that. But we're here to talk about Defender. And first, we will look at the first bullet point, which is implement policies and rules in Defender for Office 365. So what's this all about? Well, let's take a look at some of the learn.microsoft.com content which is relevant to this before we dive into the security portal and take a test drive. Okay, so first, let's have a think about anti-phishing policies in Microsoft 365. And these are policies to configure anti-phishing protection settings within Microsoft 365 organizations. And examples of Microsoft Defender for Office 365 organizations include M365 Enterprise E3, M365 Education A5, etc. All the variations of the A's and the E's and so on and so forth. M365 Enterprise, M365 Business, and Microsoft Defender for Office 365 as an add-on. We can see here that we have some high-level differences between anti-phishing policies in Exchange Online Protection and anti-phishing policies in Defender for Office 365. These are described in this table in the document. So as ever, we have got a lot of great collateral within learn.microsoft.com that we can look at in relation to things like anti-phishing and so on. We can see some common policy settings that are available in anti-phishing policies in Exchange Online Protection and Defender for Office 365, such as name and description, users and groups, so on and so on. There's detail about spoof settings, which spoofing is when the from address in an email message, which is the sender address that is shown in email clients, does not match the domain of the email source. So we can do things like enable spoof intelligence and unauthenticated sender indicators, actions, and much more. So that's anti-phishing. We will also have a look at safe attachments policies, which are very, very important. And in organizations with Microsoft Defender for Office 365, safe attachments is an additional layer of protection against malware in messages. After message attachments are scanned by anti-malware protection in Exchange Online Protection, safe attachments are going to open files in a virtual environment, a sandbox, to see what happens. This process is known as detonation. And so the messages will be detonated before they are delivered to recipients. So very, very powerful. And if you've got access to safe attachments, definitely encourage you to use them. The same thing with safe links policies in Microsoft Defender for Office 365. The same sort of principle in that safe links provides URL scanning of links in Messages, Microsoft Teams, and supported Office 365 apps. So the same sort of principle. When a link is in a message or a Teams chat, it's going to be verified as safe for the user to proceed to enter. So that's another great feature. There are some reports that we can leverage within the Defender for Office 365 portal, which are very helpful to you monitoring all the activities. And we've also got attack simulation capabilities, which is really cool. This is something that I really think is worthwhile rolling out to your users if you have the appropriate licensing, which you can get this with Microsoft Defender for Office 365 Plan 2. So, and then finally, the final sort of relevant area is how to remove blocked users from the restricted users portal in Microsoft 365. So let's take a look at all of these things. We'll start with anti-phishing. So if we go into security.microsoft.com, into our Microsoft 365 Defender portal, we are going to take a look at email and collaboration. And what we want to do first is go down into policies and rules. And as ever, you need to have the appropriate level of access to get to the security portal. A global administrator in this case, but there are other administrator objects that can get you to here. So make sure that you are aware of the access that you will need to get you to this point. What have we got within policies and rules? Well, we have got some threat policies, alert policies. We can manage advanced alerts, and we can manage activity alerts as well. So let's go into threat policies first and foremost. Now in here, we have quite a lot in this list. We've got some preset security policies here, which we can use to easily configure protection by applying all policies at once using Microsoft's recommended protection templates. Let's take a quick look. Okay, so we've got some built-in protection here for Microsoft Office 365 security. Apply to all users in the organization to protect against malicious links and attachments. So this is based on additional machine learning models, more aggressive detonation evaluation, and visual indication in the experience. An important note here, built-in protection is enabled only for paid Microsoft Defender for Office 365 tenants. So we have that built-in protection there. We have standard protection, which we can activate as well. A baseline protection profile that protects against spam, phishing, and malware threats, with balanced actions for malware content, balanced handling of bulk content, and attachment and link protection with safe links and safe attachments. So we can manage the protection settings from here. On the previous one, we can add any exclusions to that built-in protection. And then finally, we have strict protection, where we can set a more aggressive protection profile for selected users, such as high-value targets or priority users. A high-value target is going to be somebody in an organization like a C-level executive, somebody who is very easy to identify in an internet search. It's very easy to find out who the CEO or the CFO, COO is in large organizations. They're not exactly hard to find. So they're going to need some additional protection with these sort of settings, more aggressive actions to ensure that they are adequately protected. And we can get right into these settings in here at the bottom of all of these options. So manage protection settings here, we can apply strict protection here, and here we can choose to add the users, groups, and domains to protect using Exchange Online protection capabilities. including anti-spam, anti-malware, anti-phishing. Who do you want to apply this to? All recipients, specific recipients, or none? We're just demoing what this can do here, so I'll leave it as none. Again, apply Defender for Office 365 protection in this instance. Same principle. Safe attachments, safe links. Next, impersonation protection. Impersonation protection identifies email messages with sender information that have been crafted to resemble legitimate senders. So, important to learn about impersonation. You can click on the Learn More here to learn all about impersonation. And then next, the policy mode. Now here we can add email addresses to flag when impersonated by attackers. So here we can add internal or external addresses of people who might be impersonated by attackers, such as we've already said, top-level executives, board members, other people in key roles. Messages detected with impersonated senders will be quarantined. So we can add the names here and a valid email, add those relevant folks into this section. Next, add any domains to flag when impersonated by attackers. And these domains could be your domains or domains that belong to your key suppliers and partners. Messages detected with impersonated sender domains will be quarantined. So you can add those domains into this section. Next, we've got trusted email addresses and domains that you want to specifically flag as not being impersonated, not impersonation in this case. So these are going to be trusted. Next, we move on to the policy mode. Do you want to turn the policy on after finishing, or do you want to leave it turned off? Well, in this case, we'll leave it turned off because we've actually not configured any settings in this one. And then we can click on Next and review and confirm our changes, and we can click to confirm and it will go ahead and create that policy for me. I'm not going to do that because we didn't actually configure any useful settings in there. It was only really to demonstrate the process. So I'll cancel that one. So have a play about with all of these and you'll get the feel of them. So these are some handy templates that you can use in the threat policies. We've also got the configuration analyzer here, which we can use to identify issues in your current configuration and help you to improve your policies for better security. So this is great. We've got some awesome recommendations in here that are split into standard, strict, and we've got configuration drift analysis and history as well. We've got a nice little summary at the top. We've got 5 anti-spam, 11 anti-phishing, 1 anti-malware, and 1 safe links. And as we scroll down, we can collapse that sidebar a second. We can click on these and see more detail, but the columns show what we've got. We've got a quarantine message. The policy is default. It's going to show you which policy this applies to. The policy group or setting name, the policy type, whether it's anti-spam, anti-phishing, safe links. Then we've got the current configuration of the policy. What is the action? Move to junk folder, set a confidence level, set the setting to false or take no action. We've got the last modified date and the status. So let's take a look at one of these. Quarantine message. We can look to apply this recommendation by selecting it, or we can click on View the Policy. So if we click on View the Policy, it takes us into another screen, and we can see this policy right here, anti-spam inbound policy default. And we can edit the description of this. This is always on, the priority is lowest, and we can see here all that it's going to do. This is bulk email threshold and spam properties. The bulk email spam action is on. The bulk email threshold is 7. URL to .biz or .info websites is set to off. Lots of settings here that you can edit. So we can click on the edit spam threshold and properties here and change these as we need to. So that number 7 that we saw there, that's a score. We can see here that the The BCL can be from 1 to 9, and a lower value here indicates benign bulk email newsletters or ads that you signed up for, mail from known good bulk senders, etc. And a higher value indicates the bulk message is bad, likely unwanted and more spam-like. So in your anti-spam policies, consider what you want that threshold to be. The spam properties here, we can have settings for increase the spam score, specify whether to increase the spam score for messages that include these particular types of links or URLs, image links to remote websites. We have settings of on, off, or we can test that and get some additional data on how that's going to perform in our organization. So these are the settings we have here, off or on or test. And so on and so forth. Mark as spam, specify whether to mark messages that include these properties as spam, empty messages, embedded tags in HTML, lots of settings we can choose from here. And again, the settings are on, off, or we can test them. Web bugs in HTML, object tags, SPF record, hard fail, that sender policy framework, which ties into to spoofing and impersonation. Lots of great stuff we can configure. The test mode options at the bottom here, we can configure the test mode options for when a match is made to a test-enabled advanced option, and we can set that test mode to none. We can add a default X header text, or we can send a blind carbon copy message. So lots of great options in there. So that actually opened up a separate screen, so we'll go back to where we were. So you can see here the power that we have here. We can go ahead and apply the recommendation. We can edit the settings. Let's pick on another one very briefly and click on view that policy. What's this one going to do? And this is anti-phishing for Office 365, and we've got some phishing threshold and protection settings here, impersonation settings, and again we can edit these protection settings and set the phishing email threshold. We can get some information there that the threshold controls the sensitivity for applying machine learning models to messages for determining a phishing verdict. So we can slide that as required, and we have the default value set here. The severity of the action that's taken on the message depends on the degree of confidence that the message is phishing, low, medium, high, or very high confidence. Impersonation settings, you can enable users to protect for up to 350 internal and external users. You can enable domains to protect, add trusted senders and domains, mailbox intelligence, intelligence for impersonation protection, and spoof intelligence. A lot of stuff to drill down in. I encourage you to go to the learn.microsoft.com site and learn more about all of these things to make sure that you are ready to become familiar with these as you work as M365 security administrators or for preparing to do the MS 102 exam. We can look at the actions here as well. What happens if we have these situations coming up? So we can edit these actions and make decisions and what we want to do. So if a message is detected as user impersonation or spoof intelligence, then what do you want it to do? Do you want to move the message to the junk email folders, or do you want to quarantine the message? And that's a decision that you'll need to make. So lots of great stuff in there as well. So you get the idea of the sort of things that we've got. And these are just the standard recommendations. We can move to the stricter recommendations here and see the same thing, but with more stringent conditions that will be applied. The configuration drift analysis and history, if we click on that, we have no data available in here just yet. We'll not dwell on that one too much. If we go back to threat policy, so we've had a look at the two top ones, which are templated policies that you can take advantage of. And these are really great if you don't know where to get started. But you can also configure these settings on your own. You can go in and tweak these or add to them and apply them as needed. So if we go into policies and anti-phishing, we can see that we have the Office 365 anti-phish default policy in here, which is always on. The priority is lowest. The last modified date is highlighted there. We can click onto that and we can see the phishing thresholds and the impersonation thresholds and the actions that we want to take when this policy is triggered. We can also create additional policies in here, so we can give ourselves a new policy here. So we might want to set up one for a specific group of users or targets. So we could set up one, let's say for C-suite executives, for example. So if we do that, it would help if I could spell. Always put a description in, but I'm lazy, so I won't. I would do this if I was really doing it. Include the users, groups, and domains that you want in this policy to include or exclude. So we can include users and groups and domains. Okay, and then you can choose whether this is an exclude or include action. So I do have to accept one. I'm quite lazy in demos. I don't actually want to do the work in the but I am here for you. So let's try this. Let's put a user in. Let's pick on good old Rachel Green, and hopefully that will be enough for me to proceed. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Phishing, threshold, and protection. So you see the same sort of controls that we saw in the templated actions. We can slide these controls across to be more aggressive, or even more aggressive, or most aggressive. So there we go. And then we can configure our impersonation settings. We can enable the users to protect. We can manage our senders. We can enable domains to protect. We can include domains that I own or include custom domains, add our trusted senders, spoof intelligence, and so on. Click on next. We can see what we want to happen, what the actions should be when this policy to take on messages. You may need to turn on certain protections to access all available policy actions. So if you see anything grayed out, that's because you need to go back and checkbox some of those settings. So in this instance, if a message is detected as user or impersonation, what do we want that to do? We have lots of options here. We can redirect the message to another email address. We can move the message to the recipient's junk email folders. We can quarantine the message, deliver the message, and add other addresses to the blind carbon copy line. Or we can delete the message before it's delivered, or don't apply any action. So have a think about what you want to do in this sort of scenario. It's very important to get your settings correct in this regard. In some situations, junk email folder is going to be entirely appropriate. You might want to have policies that have things like high confidence spam or phishing set to go to the quarantine, for example, or whereas the lower confidence of spam, you would maybe deliver that to the recipient's junk email folders. That's a common strategy to employ in this situation. But have a good read of the learn.microsoft.com content there, and look at other things like benchmarks that are out there for security out there in the world, like NIST and CIS benchmarks, and Cyber Essentials, and so on and so forth. These are important guides to look at outside of the pure Microsoft world that we live in. So we've got a lot to cover here, so I'll not dwell too much on that. You get the idea, hopefully, and do play around with this. If you have do play around with this in a non-live environment, I should point out. Hopefully you will all realize that. Don't do any of this in production. Have yourself a demo or test tenant of some sort, and make sure that you're doing things responsibly and with change controls and all that good stuff. So that's anti-phishing policies. We've got anti-spam as well that we can configure. We can create policies in here we have some default ones in here for inbound, for connection filter, outbound as well. We can create other policies for inbound and outbound that we can target to specific users and groups. I'll just inventively call this one test just to show you this one. Again, we can include users in this one. We'll select Monica here. We can choose the outbound protection settings. We can set external message limits, internal message limits, daily message limits in here, restrictions placed on users who reach the messaging limits, such as restrict them from sending mail until the following day, restrict the user from sending any mail at all, or take no action, just send an alert. And then some notification settings in there as well. So, and then you get a nice summary of what that's going to do for you. Really cool stuff. So that's anti-spam. Back to threat policies, we've got anti-malware as well. Anti-malware policies, we have a default policy in here for malware, and we get some nice recommendations actually at the top of many of these screens within threat policies. Like in this case, we're getting a recommendation enabling preset security policies to stay up to date. So that's the templated area that we were in before. So unless you have a very specific plan to initiate for your strategy for anti-malware, anti-spam, anti-phishing, all of these settings, do consider visiting those preset security policies that we looked at. But you've got some default ones in here as well. So the default for anti-malware, and malware is a hugely important thing to be aware of, obviously. What do we want to do here? What are our protection settings? Do we want to enable common attachments filters, enable 0-hour auto purge for malware? We can edit these settings, get a better look at what this looks like and what they do. So the common attachments filter, the specified file types are automatically identified as malware in email messages. So that might be a really good one to enable. And then when we do so, we're getting common extensions here that will be included, file types. You can select those and tweak them. When these file types are found, what do we want to do? Do we want to quarantine the message? Do we want to reject the message with a non-delivery receipt or an NDR? The 0-hour auto purge for malware is recommended and is enabled here by default. This is a cool feature. Malware Zap quarantines messages that are found to contain malware after the messages have been delivered to Exchange Online mailboxes. So once the mail has been delivered, Zap continues to scan and can identify threats that it didn't know about at the time of delivery. Really cool stuff. We have quarantine policy here. We have default, admin only, all sorts of settings. Way too much to drill down very deeply in an intro overview high level video such as this one, but we may come back and do some more focused videos on some of these more granular settings in further videos down the line, but we'll not dwell on this area just now. So that's anti-malware. Now the last two here on the policies setting, we've got safe attachments and safe links. I love these two. These are really cool features. Safe attachments protect your organization from malicious content in email attachments and files in SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. How does this work? Again, we've got some of those preset security policies that you can leverage and get going with. And we've got some default settings in here as well. We've got a safe attachments policy. We've got an org-wide safe attachments policy and built-in protection. These are all on, and we can take a look at them, see what they're going to do. Let's go in and we can turn these off or on or decrease the priority, delete them. So let's see what's included in this safe attachments policy. We see the included users, the safe attachments detection response. Let's edit the settings and we can see these actions in more detail. So select the action for unknown malware within attachments. And we have some options here. We've got some warnings there, but we'll get straight into the options here. This can be set off altogether. Attachments will not be scanned by safe attachments. You can monitor the activity in which the messages will be delivered if malware is detected, and you can track the scanning results. The most aggressive is to block the current and future messages and attachments with detected malware, or you can replace block attachments with detected malware but deliver the message. This will soon be deprecated, however, so be aware of that. The block action will instead be applied, so that one is going to go away. It's been like that for a while though, so who knows when that will go away, but keep an eye on that. And then this is the one that I like to set, dynamic delivery. This is the quickest means of getting the email to the recipient, because let's face it, users want their email and they want them now. So with dynamic delivery, this will immediately deliver the message without the attachments. The attachments files are reattached after the scanning is complete. So they'll get the message immediately. Then when they click on the attachment, it's detonated and examined and then delivered. And the delay on that, I can't quite remember the time frame. if you like, but it doesn't take long at all. Hopefully the user should not notice any significant delay. Cool stuff indeed. We've got quarantine policy settings here. We've got redirect messages with detected attachments as well. And you can enable redirect to send messages that contain monitored attachments to a specific email address. Lots of cool stuff in there. Back to threat policies and safe links. Very similar principles. We've got some existing ones in here. We can create new ones. For this example, let's create a new one, show you the process of what you'll see. We'll get the ability to add users, groups, and domains you want this to apply to. Again, make your selections. And here we have URL and click protection settings to set your safe links URL and click protection settings for this policy. So for email, what do we want to happen? It's on, and the safe links will check a list of known malicious links when users click links in emails. URLs are rewritten by default. We can apply safe links to email messages sent within the organization. We can apply real-time URL scanning for suspicious links and links that point to files. We can wait for URL scanning to complete before delivering the message or not. And we have this option to do not rewrite URLs to do checks via safe links API only. You can manage URLs to do not rewrite them for emails. And then we move into team settings. So this one again is on, and safe links will check a list of known malicious links when a user clicks. In Microsoft Teams, URLs are not rewritten. Same within Office 365 apps, similar principles. And then we've got click protection settings. We can track user clicks. We can let users click through to the original URL or not. We can display the organization branding on notification and warning pages if we wish to. So really, really cool stuff. Next, we've got some notification settings. How would you like to notify your users? There is a default notification text, or you can customize that notification text to what you want the users to see specifically. And you can use Microsoft Translator for automatic localization, which is a really cool feature. Really cool indeed. And then you can review your settings and create your safe links policy. Really cool stuff. So that's policies. Then we've got some rules. We've got some tenant allow and block lists that we can manage. So we can go into here and configure domains and addresses, spoofed senders, URLs, files. So that's really cool. Lots of powerful stuff you can do in there. Email authentication settings here for ARC and DKIM. This is not hugely connected to the MS-102 exam, I believe, but very, very useful thing to be aware of, certainly, and as an email administrator, something that you'll want to have an awareness of. Things like domain keys identified mail or DKIM there. So really cool stuff. We have got advanced delivery options. We can manage overrides for special system use cases. So we've got a SecOps mailbox in there. We've got phishing simulations that we can review. So lots of amazing stuff. We've got some enhanced filtering, some quarantine policies, and this is really cool, actually. We've got evaluation mode in which you can configure Microsoft Defender or Office 365 without impacting your production environment. So have a look at this. This is a really great way of evaluating these features for Microsoft Defender. Take a look. That's another great way of making sure that you're not working in your production environment. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Next, let's talk about reports. We're still in the Microsoft 365 Defender or Security Portal, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it Security Portal because that's its URL name. And we can scroll down on the left-hand menu to Reports, quite near the bottom of the page. Let's click on Reports, and we are interested here in the email and collaboration reports, of which there are 4. Let's take a look at what we have available to us. First, email and collaboration reports. And in here, there's a lot of things that we can take a look at and help us to get some intelligence and some status. We've got a mail flow status summary. We have threat protection status. We've got our URL protection report. We can look at our top malware statistics, any spoof detections, compromised users, mail latency report, user reported messages, submissions, and our top senders and recipients. Now you can see that I don't have a lot of data in some of these areas because this is a demo tenant and is not really active. So in a production environment, you could expect to see more collateral in here, but hopefully not too much in the way of compromised users if you've configured your policies in a diligent and appropriate way and tested and are on top of things as you should be. So let's just collapse this horrible sidebar so we can see what we've got. Let's have a look at a couple of these things. You can, on the mail flow status summary, for example, we can see this broken down into good email, email malware, spam detections, any edge block spam, rule messages, or email phish. We can click on view details to get a full screen look at this mail flow status report, and we can click on some of the items in here to get some dates and direction types and so on and so forth. We have some tabs here so we can see the direction statistics for inbound here, and also we have the mail flow tab here, which shows us the total email, the edge block statistics, the processed to delivered statistics, and then we can see some information on the trends here at the bottom by date, based on total email and all these rule messages, anti-malware, safe attachments, demarc, detonation, detection, lots of great information here. And you can click on each and get the flyout panel to show you more. So there we go, email and collaboration reports, back to reports. So next, we have the Manage Schedule section to manage the schedule for the reports security teams use to mitigate and address threats in the organization. You can click on Manage Schedules, and you can schedule a start date in here, and then take care of that as required. We've also got reports that are available for download. So if you have run a report, you can click on here and you will see them ready to download in this area. And we've also got Exchange Mailflow Reports, which opens in a new tab here. It's actually going to take us right into the Exchange Admin Center, and it takes us into this area here where you can see auto-forwarded messages. We can get some training and guides. We can see 6 inbound messages here on the mail flow sections. We can click to view that report. We can look at managing email forwarding, adding shared mailboxes. We can hide from the address list, edit a mailbox, promote safe communications across channels by using communication compliance, which is a fabulous feature within Microsoft Purview. I love Purview so much. And then Exchange as well. So lots of cool stuff in Exchange Mailflow reports. Okay, really cool stuff. So that takes us through the reporting options. Next, we are going to take a look at using attack simulation training. Now, this is really, really cool. This is a feature that you can try in Microsoft 365 Defender for Office 365 Plan 2 for free. And this is going to enable you to set simulations to test your users, to see how they react to emails coming in that are safe, but in the real world would be suspicious. So this is a great training opportunity. It should be used responsibly and shouldn't be used as a means of tricking your users. It should be from an educational point of view. Some users don't like this. You have to be careful how you announce this in the organization. It should be done in a very, very highly communicative and honest way, and they should know that this is something that is going to happen. So But this is something that, again, is in the security portal at security.microsoft.com. We are in the email and collaboration section again, and it's under attack simulation training. And here we get an overview of what this feature is going to do. Attack simulation training lets you run benign cyber attack simulations on your organization to test your security policies and practices. So that's what it's doing. It's testing how robust your policies and practices are. It's not about tricking or testing your users as such. It's about promoting good awareness. So lots of things that you can do in here. On our overview screen here, let's get rid of that. We can see some recent simulations that have been deployed out and completed. We can see some recommendations that you can do, like launch a phishing simulation using social engineering techniques, run multiple simulations using simulation automation. We can see training completion statistics. So this is a training program. We can see a percentage of how many users have completed their training. We can see any repeat offenders. I don't like that word offender again, but this is an area where you can see users who need the most support, users who need that little bit of help in being more diligent, vigilant, and awareness around the use of email and safe email operation. Simulation coverage, how many users across the organization have experienced a simulation or not. Behavior impact on compromise rate. So lots of great statistics on that overview screen. So we can see the simulations that have taken place, the ones that we have run already. So we can see that I have 2 credential harvest test simulations here of the type of social engineering, where a fictional attacker in this scenario has sent an email trying to trick the user into providing their credentials. That's over email. We can see the launch date, the end date, and the actual compromise rate. Meaning, did the user click on the email to open it? Did they click on an attachment to open it? Did they take any actions that they should not have done? So really cool stuff indeed. If we click onto these, we can get more detail about those particular simulations, the impact of them, the payloads that were used, and so on. And there's some improvement actions for what could be implemented to better protect in these scenarios. Really cool stuff. Training. So we can see training campaigns in here. We can create training campaigns to train your employees on topics including security, compliance, privacy, or social engineering risks. So we can go and create a new campaign here, and we can call this a phishing simulation or a social engineering or whatever campaign it's going to be, but just for demo purposes, I'll call it inventively test. We can include only specific users and groups, so you can do it by groups and users in your organization. You can include all users. Click on next. You can exclude some target users from the simulation if you are doing all users in the organization. You can select training modules from the training catalog or redirect to a custom URL. So you can add trainings in here and see what is available to you. And security trainings available here are the best-in-class trainings made available by Microsoft for you to train your professionals about security and compliance of your organization and help in improving their behavior to common attacks and rules. And here we have the list of the available trainings that you can use to run a campaign. So we've got Introduction to Information Security, Business Email Compromise, Identity Theft, Malware, Phishing, Ransomware, Social Engineering, all sorts of amazing stuff here that you can check and select and add as training for your users. So we could pick on ransomware, for example, and add that as a training. So we can click on next. Select the end user notification. Select the notification preferences, default notification, or you can customize the notifications. You can select the language. And then proceed to the, please select the default language. Okay, that's fine. I shall do so. I shall Select English, try that again. Please select default English and delivery preference. Oh, there we go. This one here, delivery preference, twice a week or weekly. Let's go aggressive. Let's go twice a week. Let's go next. The schedule the launch and end date for your training campaign. We can launch as soon as you are done, or we can schedule it for another time, and you can send the training with an end date, and then enter a valid date or time. Okay, I'm so lazy when demoing, but I hope not too lazy. I hope you're getting the gist. Select next, and then you can send the test to make sure that that's going to do what you want it to do, and then submit that when you're ready. So we'll not do that, but that's how you do a training campaign. Automations, you can create simulation automations, which are flows with specific techniques and payloads that run when the specified conditions are met, and launch simulations. We'll not dwell too heavily or granularly on some of this because we could spend probably an entire video series on this alone, how you can deploy this, and we might well do that in further videos. So for the context of this video series, we'll keep it quite high level awareness and encourage you to supplement your learning with the learn.microsoft.com guidance and exploring your own learning with demo tenants. So we've got content library here as well. What have we got in here in our content library? We've got a lot of payloads in here that you can choose for the simulations. So these are the sort of fake malicious emails that you can select from to try and educate your users. So here are the payloads. So this would be the email that they would receive as a subject name. They would say, you've been selected by a reward program, and that's enticing. That's, oh, I've won something, I'm going to click on that. I might get a prize, some money, and this is encouraging the users to hang on a moment, let's think about this, let's be vigilant. So lots of things you can select here. We can click on these payloads, see what they're going to look like to the end user. Here we go, it's time for a reward top-up. You've been selected, etc., etc. Click on a link. This is the key to it. If you can get the users to click on something or reveal something, then that's the danger. And this is what this is all about. So you can hopefully see the power of these payloads that you can use for training. Things like account suspension, where it's going to generate an email. This is in another language here, but it's going to say something like urgent action required. Your account needs attention. Click on here to reactivate or unsuspend your account. So, and in fact, that was in Japanese, so that was to be expected. So yes, you can see the languages of these payloads right here. So powerful, so cool, and I cannot encourage the use of this technology enough. You can set some settings for repeat offender thresholds. Again, I really don't like that offender word there. I think that should be renamed as something less derogatory, because it's all about awareness. We've got to help our users to work safely, and they shouldn't be considered offenders. The training threshold determines the number of days for which a training module will not be reassigned to a user who's already completed. So we can set some settings there. So that is our attack simulation training rather, and it's really, really cool stuff indeed. So finally, one of the criteria for this section was all about blocked users and how to manage them and remove blocked users from the restricted users portal in Microsoft 365. So this is something that applies to Exchange Online Protection, Defender for Office 365 Plans 1 and 2, and Microsoft 365 Defender. And if a user exceeds one of the outbound sending limits in as specified in the service limits or in outbound spam policies, then that user is restricted from sending email, but they can receive email still. And you'll recall a few moments ago, we saw some of those restrictions or limits that could be imposed if those thresholds are triggered. In that scenario, the user is added to the restricted users page in the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. When they try to send out the email, the message is returned in a non-delivery report, also known as an NDR, or a bounce message, with an error code of 5.1.8, and this text here saying that the message couldn't be delivered because you weren't recognized as a valid sender. So lots of cool stuff in this section. This is something that's hard to simulate because in a demo environment, again, it's probably laziness, but I probably could go in and send enough messages of a certain criteria to generate this, but you can click on the security portal, this direct link here from the Learn documentation to security.microsoft.com/restricted users to get right into there and see any restricted entities that you have. Now, as I've already given you a clue to, I don't have any in here because I've not been able to generate that, but they would appear here and you could click on them and take the appropriate actions. So very cool stuff indeed. Now, I love all the features within Microsoft Defender for Office 365. A few years ago, this wasn't half as mature as it has become. This is a genuine option for massive organizations, corporations, enterprises out there now. A few years ago, they would probably be looking at a third-party best-of-breed product instead of this. Now, in E5, with Defender, this is something that some of the biggest organizations in the world are considering and deploying in favor of those third-party products. It's very powerful. There's so much you can do with it. And it's only going to get better. But it's only as good as the people who administer it and configure it properly. And that is going to arm you to enable your users to use email safely, vigilantly, and diligently. So that is the end of our content for today. Let's start winding up this video. So that's it for another video. Thank you, as always, for watching along with me. Hopefully you found it useful. If you have done, I would love to hear what you think in the comments, or reach out to me on Twitter at M365Rising. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them for you. I can't guarantee that I can because I don't know everything. That's impossible. But the key is to always be learning. Learn, share, and repeat. That's my motto on this channel. So please do hit that subscribe button. It takes a second and it's free to do so. Please, if you would be so kind, please hit that like button as well. So many of you are watching my videos, which I really appreciate, but the percentage who watch the videos is out of proportion to those who hit that like button. Also free to do so, and it's going to help me enormously to move up that all-important YouTube algorithm and reach more people to help them on their learning journey, which is something I'm very, very passionate about wanting to do. So until next time, I appreciate your time, your patience, and your company, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.